Good late morning. It's about 15 minutes till 12. And here I am. Here I am yet again in the heat of the day. It's really warm. And those of you that are looking for any respite here in Taiwan from the heat, well, my experience September and October is a continuation of summer. And it's until the first couple of weeks of November that fall starts. And if you're a big fan of fall, which I've always been, Taiwan might not just be the best place for you, because in my experience, fall lasts a couple weeks before it morphs into winter. And granted, we have relatively mild winters in Taiwan, though, of course, colder than this Hawaii boy is used to. So, having said all that as a long-winded introduction, I want to get into what's on my mind today. I've been noticing, as I always do, I pay attention, I've been noticing that at 3:33 every night is the time of an epiphany for me. I always have an epiphany at that time, 3:33. And those of you that follow me at all know that 3:33, any combination of threes is meaningful to me. It's a number of great import in my life. And before 3:33, I'm winding up, waking up, paying us more attention, coming into the end of phase 1 of my sleep, winding up to be ready for the epiphany that's sure to come. And then epiphanies are, by nature in my experience, brief. Like you turn on the light. And after that, I immediately begin winding down so that I can start to get ready for phase 2 of my bimodal or biphasal sleeping pattern as I get ready to sleep. And I would venture to say that I enjoy my best, most restful sleep in the second phase. After I've been up, had my epiphany, and wound back down, I sleep well until 6 or 7. And what my epiphany was about last night is truth with a capital T. I'm going to come in a little bit closer because I have notes. So this epiphany about truth was that although truth exists, we, by the limitations of human nature, are not equipped to see truth in its entirety. So it becomes a collection of truths with an S. I would say it ends with a big S, capital S, truths, plural. And in the process of looking at truth and understanding that it's bigger than I could ever know in my current form and level of understanding. Truth with a capital T, that all-inclusive, all-encompassing reality. And I remember some parables, a couple parables from my youth that seemed to be appropriate. And what I laughed about is that somehow I put two parables together. Maybe it makes it easier to remember, I don't know. But I Googled 3 blind mice and the elephant, because I remembered some parable that was appropriate here for my idea of conveying, adding the S to truth, in the recognition, in the spirit of inclusiveness, which I've happily been dwelling in these last several days, 2 weeks. Inclusive. When you look at the truth with a capital T, even though it's all-encompassing, it can become exclusive in that the truth is all that there is. Now that's exclusive. Although by nature, inclusive means everything is indeed within. But the exclusive aspect means that there's no exceptions. There's no wiggle room. There's no room for interpretation. And that comes in to the truth in the realm of truths, with a small t and a capital S. I set that word on its head. Start with a small t, end with a capital S. Because in this, what I'm trying to communicate for my intents and purposes, it's the S. It's multiple truths. Multiple truths. Just as many truths are there as there are pebbles on the beach, people in the universe, stars in the cosmos. There's a truth for everyone with a little t, and we include, we get truths. So anyway, here I juxtapose 2 parables from my childhood together. So when I Googled 3 blind mice and the elephant, what I found is that it was 6 blind mice, or 6 blind men, and the elephant was one of the parables. And the other parable was about 3 blind mice. It was a nursery rhyme. But like most fairy tales and nursery rhymes, it's not entirely innocent. It's not without some heavy baggage that we were cooing over our baby's crib or cradle, rocking them, having them find sleep in our nursery rhyme. But the 3 blind mice were Protestants. The Mother Church, the Catholic Church, had zero tolerance for the Protestants that were propping up, that looked at the Mother Church in a new way. Schisms, which as soon as you have a group of more than 2 people, to put 2 people together, it won't take long as it grows that there'll become schisms, divisions, which are ego-based in most cases, power-hungry, ego-based, jealousy, where people become convinced that not only do they have the answer, but it's the only answer, and everyone else is a heretic if they won't accept their interpretation. So this 3 blind mice, these 3 Protestants, it's alluding to the fact that the jealous Mother Church, the Catholics, had these prophets, these purveyors of new paradigms, blinded. Pretty heavy message for rocking your baby in your arms or in his cradle, isn't it? But fairy tales have their dark side too. But to go back to the parable that was most appropriate here for what I was talking about is the 6 blind mice or the 6 blind men. I preferred mice because they're smaller and the elephant's bigger, and it just makes the parable on a grander scale. But the story about each mouse gripping a different part of the elephant and describing the elephant based on what part of the body they happen to be touching. And the interesting thing is they never got together and accumulated and shared, added up their perception to get a better idea of the whole. This didn't happen. Each one insisted that the beast that they were touching was only as they experienced it. There was no room for differences. This is the epitome of exclusivity, isn't it? So this leads me to this parable leads me to where I started with many truths. And by many truths, we can't hold our truth, our experience of truth, of any more importance than anyone else's experience of truth. We have to look at the accumulation of truths. And we can't become vested. We can't hold on to our experience and say that this is the truth. We can't be exclusive. We have to recognize and accept that it's possible, maybe even probable, that everyone entertains their own version of truth. Now, does this limitation of human consciousness affect in any matter whatsoever the truth of the capital T? Of course not. There's absolutely zero where's the word? Absolutely zero chance that our individual interpretation, what we experience, our truth, I might call it, can be exclusive. It can't be so wide to encompass, to even come close to encompassing truth with a capital T. But I share this with a happy heart, with a full heart, and I'm so glad that this is the condition of our consciousness. It constantly is a reminder, acceptance of the limitations of our grasp of truth with a capital T is liberating in the sense that it's hard to take yourself so seriously. And if I had one message for everyone, it would be relax, laugh, and recognize and even celebrate your limitations. After all, it's your limitations that make each of us who we truly are. As long as we're existing in this physical shell that we've been graced with, that without we wouldn't be able to proceed on this critical stage of our personal journeys. I'm going to come a little closer so that I can read. And I'm touching on this because I want to lead us all somewhere. Or not really lead, because I like to be behind the stage. Point. Suggest. Recommend. And to make my point, I wanted to touch on something that's current in the political arena of America. We have a self-proclaimed Messiah who promises to make America great again. And this is met by even more people who recognize, perhaps, who might say that America was never great. And there might be others with equal sincerity who say, America has been and will always be a great nation. And these two, America has never been a great nation. America has and will continue to always be a great nation. These, I can honestly respond to them as being equally so. Now, in a rational, so-called rationality, which is really just a cover-up, a coin phrase for our egos positing. How can these two, on the face of things, that are completely opposite polarities, how can they be equally true? It boggles the rational, logical mind. But I'm always more interested in the unrational, not irrational, unrational. Irrational means that somehow there's a rational alternative. Unrational is the opposite of rational. And just as illogical is a kind of fault within logic, unlogical would indeed be the opposite of logic or logical. So I celebrate the unlogical, the unrational, because this is where I'm personally most comfortable. And not comfortable in the state of, in the condition of complacency, comfortable in the constant vigil of looking and listening for what is so. Looking for the truth. And this is why I was always so fascinated with Stephen Hawking's concept of the theory of everything. What could be more intriguing? What could take a bigger stage than the theory of everything? And this brilliant man, although he didn't get it this lifetime, he remained convinced that it's gettable, it's attainable, that there is indeed a theory for everything. And I suspect that truth just might be, truth with a capital T, just might be what he was looking for. But unfortunately, the limitations of being in this form, in this body, just eliminates the possibility for us to even approach an understanding that isn't even a twinkling of the comprehensive whole. So to go back to this, America has never been great. America has been and always will be great. And I would answer yes with equal sincerity and conviction to both of these propositions, both of these proposals, both of these statements. And in here, lies the cosmic joke. One of the landmarks of approaching, abiding, permanent awakenings, something that will help you to recognize that you're in the process of non-abiding, progressive awakening into the realms of abiding and permanent awakening is this reconciliation of diametrically opposed concepts, polarities, opposites. When you recognize that our universe is inclusive, not exclusive, that the paradigm of correct or incorrect no longer serves any purpose. Opposites, by their very nature, are equally so. I've always used destiny, preordained, and free will. Yes to destiny, yes to preordained. Events are preordained. It's my destiny to be sitting here on this hot, muggy day, sweating up a storm, sharing with you, as is it also my free will. No one's forcing me to be in this hot room. I could be in an air-conditioned room. Just outside the door is the sanctuary of air conditioning. Respite from the heat. But both by free will and preordained destiny, here I sit in this sweltering room, laughing about the vagaries of life, laughing at myself. Silly old man, you could be cruising in comfort, and here you are, sweating in sweltering conditions, and laughing. And remember, laughter is best served when it's turned inward. Trust me when I say there's nothing funnier in the universe than each and every one of us. And if you can't appreciate that, you're on the verge of being just too serious. Relax, laugh, and do it frequently and consistently. Make it a habit. It's just as important as meditation. It's just as important as mindfulness. It's just as important as equanimity, as peace, of universal, unconditional love. The ability to see the humor in everything. The ability to recognize the impermanence. That if you're happy today, that will change. If you're unhappy today, that will too change. So this signpost, this event in your life, on your spiritual inquiry, your path of questioning, and reviewing, you'll come to a point where it's not only relatively simple to wrap your mind around the idea that opposites could be and are equally true. It's the liberation from the pedantic. It's the liberation from confinement. It's the liberation from taking yourself so seriously. The liberation from thinking for one moment that your mind came up with one iota of value as to apply to what's real. Its use, in fact, lies in helping you to determine what's not real. This is when it's a really useful tool. But this belly laugh that comes after that aha moment of awakening to the non-duality, awakening to the rejection of dualities, of opposites, recognizing within each is the seed of the other. It's a continuum, space-time continuum. And this realization is the source for great mirth, great humor, great laughter. This is the cosmic belly laugh. And most of it is focused on the inward state, the inward misconception of what we are. So I started out today talking about inclusive, talking about many views of truth is seen as truth. And all of them are equally of equal value and validity. And neither of those, by definition, can be exclusive. I might be so bold as to suggest that in our human consciousness, our ability to even begin a cursory understanding of truth with the T, the angel's trumpet, truth. We can learn to be content with what is available to us. We can learn to include others' perspective of truth with a small t, and relish the many truths, the myriad of truths that are part of our condition. In the spirit of non-separation, in the spirit of non-division, accepting that there are many truths will go a long ways towards giving you peace of mind, equanimity of spirit, and most importantly, the ability to not take yourself so seriously. Laugh, love, sit, wait, observe, listen. And you will not be disappointed.